right, well, those of you that thank all y'all for coming, and those of y'all that are looking to replace some bees this year, because I understand there are some bee losses. Uh, Clint's going to go over how he catches free bees. He'll catch everything in the valley, so if you're looking for any, he'll probably have some. So he's got it. He's pretty good at this stuff. So he's going to go ahead and talk to us about catching swarms.
All right, I've got you. So, yes, we did have about 70% losses nationwide, it sounded like, with the colony collapse and all that. And they're not 100% sure on what has caused it all yet. We did have a horrible droughty summer. Um, you have your treaters and your non-treaters out there as far as varroa mite goes and other things. If you go into winter with high numbers on varroa mite, it can cause issues anyway. And then the stress of the dry weather and everything that we had didn't help. Then we had those real cold snaps that, it could have had some issue, because there again, you've got your beekeepers that believe in feeding, and then you got beekeeper supplemental feeding, and then you got some that don't believe in supplemental feeding. And like the old saying goes, you ask 12 beekeepers the same question, you're going to get 15 different answers. And it's okay, right? But because not we have found over the years that not every, even right out here, not every colony is the same. We can't treat every colony the same. They just have different personalities. They have different traits about them, and so as far as the losses goes, and as far as feeding them goes and treating goes, we kind of stand in the middle with all that. Because if you raise cattle, hopefully you feed them, right? If you have dogs and cats, hopefully you feed them. So you're not just going to let them fend for themselves. So those are some things that we do. But so this is swarm season. And so, everybody likes free stuff, right? And you can catch free feral bees. What you can do to help with things is once you catch the bees, if you want to split them, now they are not feral any longer. If you want to requeen them, which a lot of people do, and that's a lot of what we do. So think of it this way: a nuke of bees right now, or a package of bees. What'd you pay? Yeah, right around $200, right? And that's about 3 to 4 pounds of bees and a queen. And that's what you get for that, right? And then you're talking buying the equipment. Just if you're buying just the woodware alone, you're roughly spending what, about $300 roughly for good equipment. Okay, yeah, you can buy some of the cheaper stuff from China and things like that, but a lot of times you're going to have foundation that is waxed with paraffin wax and things like that. That's not as good, not as high quality. All right. But you think about that, now we're up to about $500. So I heard a beekeeper the other day say something to the effect, I think it was Ashby. He said that your first quart of honey is roughly about $1,000, $3,000 for your first quart of honey. That doesn't sound like very good turnaround there, does it? So, but one thing you can do to knock out the $200 at least, you could catch a swarm of bees and pay $45 to $75 for a queen. Pinch the queen in there and reintroduce the new queen. Now you've got a non-feral colony with maybe you like we're starting to really like the carniolans real well. Maybe you've got this feral bee colony. You've already got it established, and they are very good at making wax and very good at getting things going. And then you introduce this new queen there. Now it's not a feral colony anymore, so you're saving yourself some money there. It's very easy to do, right? So again, it is swarming season. Why do they do that? Does everybody know why they swarm? It's just part of their natural way of creating, keeping established, right? And so every time that you see, we all grew up probably calling them, what were they? Mayflies. We were talking about this the other day, but does anybody know what they really are? they're termites, and that's what they are. They're out there. They're swarming right now too, and so you see all them flattering all over the place. But swarming, like I said earlier, bees are good at making two things: honey and more bees. And so there becomes a time where when you have this time of the year, let's say, what we got, maybe 45,000, 60 some thousand bees in a box, and they're all female except for the drone. They start getting crowded and anxious on each other, right? So especially right now, the weather's bad. It's been raining. They've all been in the box. We'll probably get a lot of swarm calls the next few days after the rain, because that's usually whenever they naturally do it. All right. But it's very easy to catch swarms, okay? And have any of you seen a swarm flying? No, have you? Have you seen maybe one in a tree looks like this, and not knowing what to do? So if you see them like this in the tree or the ones I hate are on chain link fences. I don't know if you've ever got to pull one off of a chain link fence with me yet, but man, it's been they're a bear, right? Because they're all woven in there, and you're trying to find the queen, not kill the queen, so forth and so on, and it's hard to do. But we started getting a lot of calls about a few weeks ago, and they'll swarm all the way till fall. It just depends on how someone takes care of their hives, really. But if you see this, you can call the agricultural department. They've got a full list of folks that will come and collect the swarms. Most time beekeepers will collect just the swarms for free. Just come out, dump them in a nuke, and get them out of there. It takes about 15, 20 minutes, and you're done. There's another part of it where you can call, and it's doing cutouts, and that's where, let's say, a colony of bees has moved into a cavity of your home, and most beekeepers usually charge for that, right? One, you don't have to be in our state, but you should be licensed. You should have insurance. You should know what you're doing. It's not just going in there ripping and tearing or ripping them out. It's a messy job too, isn't it? It's a long, hot, messy day. You're trying to be polite inside people's homes, putting plastic down, taping things off, and removing and leaving it cleaner than what you're in. So, but those are two ways with that. But anytime you see those, again, if you don't know anybody locally around you, you can call that agricultural number, and they will. There's a whole list, I think, that's even on the website. There's a whole list. It's done by county. It's done by all that, so that you can see what you're getting. But anyway, so anybody know what this is? Swarm trap. Yeah. So, and if you want a good one made, this gentleman right here, James, he actually made these for us. We did some trading and swapping, and this is a one that's fits what they recommend the quote unquote perfect conditions for a swarm is. Now, what do I mean by that? They say a 10-gallon container is what you need. Let me tell you something. We've removed them and caught them in everything from a 5-gallon size bucket or even 2-gallon size bucket, literally, up to a 55-gallon drum. We call it our what is it called? Our magic box. It's literally one that was sitting up there, and it had a motor in it, and I brought it home, drilled a hole in it, set it out back the fence there one day, and didn't even have it baited yet. And he was walking out the gate before me. He turned and closed the gate and said, "You caught a swarm already." I mean, literally within a day. All right. And so we've caught 3 in that one so far. But what I feel the size of the box matters is how big a swarm you're going to catch. Okay. If you've got a small box, of course, you're going to catch a small swarm of bees. If you got a larger box, you're going to catch a larger swarm of bees. But there are folks out there that says, well, it needs to be 40 feet off the ground, or 20 feet off the ground, whatever. Let me tell you, I've had them sitting out back on the ground and not even baited up, and they'll move right in on the ground. Here's what I do. I'm getting old. We're getting old. We don't want to reach. We've got one or two that are up that we get on ladders to put up, and that's only to keep people from stealing them, because I have had these stolen before. All right. But that's the only when we put them out in public places or not on somebody's property that we know. That way people can't steal them. All right. Uh, I don't think that they care. As many cutouts as we've done, they don't care if it's all the way up top there or if it's down here, the entrance. They're going to find a spot that they love and they're going to go into it. All right. So that's my 2 cents on the location and all that, as far as height and all and the size of the box. Yes, there are some tricks to this, I think. They love dirty, nasty water. Bees do, believe it or not. It seems like the dirtier and the nastier, the better. So swampy areas are a good place to put your swarm traps. They use railroad tracks, roadways, rivers, and all that to navigate with. So hanging them along those areas is a good place to hang them, because as they're going, they'll smell it and they'll come and check it, and then they know that, hey, when it's time to swarm, we're going to go check this thing out. All right. But as far as the location goes, those are the areas I would suggest. We don't necessarily like hanging them, and it's hard to know. I wish we had like a beekeeper's map in West Virginia to where we knew where all the beekeepers were, but we don't. But we try not to hang them around where other beekeepers are, honestly, because we don't know what they've got, right? But again, that's hard to know too. So, you don't know whether you're getting someone else's bees, because we know a guy at our plant, Alan Cobb, he caught a swarm one year and she was paint dotted green. So, it was somebody's bees that swarmed. So that's you don't know exactly what you're gonna get there. As far as baiting the swarm box, so this, in my opinion, is probably one of the most crucial things you can put in there. And what this is brood comb, okay? And I can pass the brood comb around if y'all want to look at it and see what it is and smell it, because I think that's the biggest thing that they like, is they want whatever they're moving into to be like their home already, right? A furnished home moving in. So one frame of brood comb, or if you know a beekeeper like this right here, we're going to be melting down and rendering. They'd be happy to give you some, and it doesn't have to be on a frame, but that is something good. Then what I do, or we do, is we just put blanks in. All right. This one looks all funky, but they'll eat that wax off and redo it. But the reason why we put the blanks in there, does anybody know why? So they are very good wax builders whenever they're swarming. Okay, so when they swarm, the very first thing they do is what they figure out how they're going to swarm, or when they're going to swarm, or even what bees are going to swarm, because honeybees are a democracy. They're not a monarchy. The honeybee does, or the queen bee does not rule the roost like most people think. And they are they vote on everything. There's an awesome book, Honeybee Democracy. If you've ever have not read it, I'd suggest you read it. You shook your head. Do you remember the author of that book? Yes, Tom Seeley. That's exactly who it is. I couldn't remember the name of it right off the bat. Very good book, though. They all get together and they kind of vote on, this is where we're going, and this is who all's going with the old queen. All right. And so when we bait, these hives. We have that. And then I'll show you two things. So there's stuff out there, and we'd have no affiliation with them, but there's stuff out there called Swarm Commander and other different things like that. And it's just a mixture of like lemongrass oil and a few other oils that you can spray in there, and it helps attract them. Most of the ones I've caught, it's just straight up lemongrass oil. Okay. I'll give you all a little trick that we do. Every time we pinch a queen and kill one, I drop them in these bottles, because I think that pheromone of the queen also kind of gets in there and mixes in there and helps with it, because that's what you're trying to simulate with this, right? Is that smell of a colony, the queen, all this, that, and the other. So we'll squirt a little bit of this on there, let's just say, on there. It doesn't take a lot. All right, tell you a funny story. So we caught a lot of bees out of these traps, but David and my nephew were down at my building baiting hives last year, the year before, and I got home to pick them up to take them out to mount them. I was like, "Holy cow! Did y'all take a bath in this stuff?" Well, I guess my nephew was just drenching it down, wasn't he? Oh, it was. You could smell it on me, and I didn't even touch anything. But it doesn't take a whole lot. Now, how I bait to kind of help with time of not having to go back as often is I'll take cotton balls or whatever, and I'll drip some of the lemongrass oil on it, put it in a little baggie, and then I don't even seal it up all the way, but that helps keep it last a little bit, because you want to go back every couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, to rebait. But I just drop that down the bottom of the hive, and I'm done. All right. When we go back to rebait, a little trick that we do is, next time you're at McDonald's or somewhere, grab you a handful of straws and take your Q-tips, and I'll get oil on it, and I will, so that we don't have to open up that, and I will take this, put it on inside the straw, and just push it in the hole. We got it closed right now, don't we? Anyway, we'll push it in the hole, and then that way we don't have to open the top on or anything like that. So that's just a little trick that we use to help with that as well. You'll hear people talk about it's got to be a southwest facing, northwest facing, blah, 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 all these different ways it's got to be. We've got them facing everywhere down at the plant, don't we? And they don't care. As long as it is a good home for them, it's just kind of like us going out and picking out a home for us. As long as they like it and love it, they're going to end up getting in there. Now, one of the questions I'm sure will be asked, how successful are you? 2 Thursdays ago, right? Between us and me and James at the plant, we caught 5?
Yeah, we had 4 boxes out.
4 boxes full within 24 hours. And within that 36 hours, we had, I think, 3 more swarms. So just within that amount of time, that's how many we caught. Now, we actually caught one here locally. All right. We hung a trap as we were pulling this one down. We hung a trap, 5 feet away in another tree. And I went to check it yesterday, and this is just less than a week apart. There's already a swarm in that other box. So it's easily done. All right. I know it sounds like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of work involved. But if you think about the money you're saving, I mean, would you rather spend $200 or would you rather spend, $65 for a queen, right? And then they're going to start ending up taking their trait of that queen as she's laying and the others are dying off. All right. It just helps them get started real quick. Also, another pro of getting a swarm versus buying a package and then maybe killing the queen is where they do like to build comb. Okay, the swarms build comb quickly because when they leave, they suck up as much honey and as much stores as they can before they take off flying. And one of the things they start doing as soon as they get into their new home is building comb, right? And you can, off of a swarm, you can build a ton of comb on these. And beekeepers know that this wax is way more valuable than honey to us, a lot, right? And so that they are able to do that for us versus a package of bees that we might buy. They're not, right. They've been shipped places. They're not, in their mind, they're not set up right now to really to do their thing. And you don't know, even with them, you don't really know what type of queen you're going to get, how old the queen is, this, that, and the other either. Because most of those packages, and I'm not down on them, because we do nukes too. Most of those that you get from down south, let's say, those have been shook. They'll, as soon as they get back from, like, let's say, the almond orchards and the orchards down in Georgia and places like that, they start taking those, and that's what they use to shake to make those packages out of. And so sometimes you just don't know what you're getting. Maybe she's a year old, maybe she's 2 years old, maybe she's 3 years old, and now you're starting to get into the end of her lifespan anyway, right? So here you can kind of control that a little bit with that being said. Huh? I thought someone clean your throat. So that is some of the pros and the cons of getting the swarms. What else? Any questions so far? Anything that I've left out? Open right ways and along rivers, stuff like that, like paths. Yes, yeah, that was at the beginning. Okay. But that is right of ways, any of those types of things. Those are the best places right beside them to set these up. But yeah, if you don't have the comb right away, again, you can ask, and you can just drop this down in the bottom of the box, and then put your blanks right over top of it. Because again, the only thing they're going to do is smell it, and that's going to be why they get in there. Again, it's like us buying a home. What do they want it already furnished or not furnished? And most of the time, if you got one of these in there, guess what she can start doing right away? Cleaning it and then laying. So right away laying eggs. And now that's usually where people have an issue of holding on to their swarms, is they tend to go grab the boxes too quick, and then they start putting them in their own equipment, and they've not settled in, and then the queen takes off and absconds. Did I say it right? Absconds. She absconds, and then we don't, we're like, well, why? We gave her a bigger box. We gave her a bigger home. A lot of times, new packages, swarms, whatever, they don't like big. Okay, they like to be contained in a small little box. So that's why we have a lot of 5-frame nuke boxes, and you've probably seen wooden ones. You've probably seen these or what have you, because we let them grow in these first. We let them grow and pack these out with a lot of bees and a lot of brood before we move them into the bigger equipment like we have back here. That's one of the other things. Another thing that people don't do on either, whether it's these swarms, just give you some tips for these type of swarms versus catching the swarms. Don't use smoke on these. Okay, I've asked people too many times, have said, well, I smoked them into a new nuke and I smoked them into the box, but then they left. Well, the smoke tells them what? There's a fire. So now you fill this box full of smoke, and you get them home and you set them up and they leave because you've smoked them into the box. We don't use a lot of smoke. I mean, we just don't. Even with our colonies, depending on the day, a day like today, we'll use smoke, right? Because they're probably a little crotchety today. But don't use smoke on them. The other thing is if you can catch the queen. Does everybody know what a queen cage is? There's different types. Here's one. There's I don't have yeah, dude, it's in my pocket there. But there's different types of queen cages. If you can catch the queen and put her in either one of these, or I thought I had one in my pocket. I usually got 10 or 12 in my pocket. Well, I got this type of queen cage. There's different ones. Queen clips. But if you can catch her and put her in here and then put her down inside of there, they're going to stay. They're not going nowhere. All right. And what's cool about these little boxes is you don't have to, once you get them in there, you can just cut them off to where they can get in and out, but she can't. All right. So you can do that too with those types of entrances. Has anybody seen a queen cell? You can pass this around. These are some that have been hatching here lately. That's actually a queen cell. What's it look like? Morel? Yeah, a peanut. But that's a queen cell. You can make, David will get into that more here whenever he takes over about splits and things of that nature. But you can make lots of new colonies by splitting. He'll talk about that. But that's about all I have as far as this goes, unless you think I've.
What's a good time to move those if you're kind of hanging in a tree?
Oh my gosh. So, yes. So, when is a good time to move these? So, you want to get there at dark or early in the morning at dark. That's something right now. We've actually, like I was saying earlier, we've got 2 swarms, one over in St. Albans and then one here in Nitro that we've got to get picked up. And one of them, we're probably going to have to do a cutout because it's been hanging for so long. But because, I mean, think about this. So they're building comb everywhere, right? Well, look how much room's on the bottom. And bees like to fill every bit of space that they possibly can. So we're probably got, you can see how they started here. We're probably going to have, there's no probably about it, we're going to have a lot of comb underneath these as well. So we'll have to end up doing some cutouts on that one, especially because it's a big swarm. There almost seems to be, once you find your, pardon the pun, honey holes, it seems to be that those areas are very year after year after year after year of doing it. And don't think that just because Cody's got his trap hung up over there that you can't hang one here, okay? Because we've got a couple traps that we can see other people's traps not far away, and they may catch one and we may not in that area, or vice versa. All right, so it's just like trapping for fur or anything of that nature. It's kind of fun for me, and I think kind of I don't know, adrenaline rush whenever you do catch them, and just kind of fun because I'll be sitting at work and I'll get a message from James, hey, the North Plant traps got bees in it. Well, we just did we emptied one. He hung another trap back up just a couple days later, and what'd you text me the other day? There's bees in it again. So somewhere around there, and it's not the ones that are there at the plant, because Toyota allows us to keep bees on site at the plant. Same thing as we've got here, a teaching type yard. But we end up, we've been splitting the tar out of them because last year we had swarms everywhere. It seemed like every time I sat down at my desk, hey, well, there's another swarm out here, which that's already happened once to me. We had one at the flagpole, and then I got a message from him, what, Friday? And
walking out to the apiary and walked through a cloud of bees that was landing in a tree while I was walking out there.
yeah, so right now is a very good time to get on it as far as the swarms go. So
Right there at where the shows in Nitro last year at the trees.
oh yeah.
And the braided stop signs.
Yeah, so last year I got a call from Cindy. Hey, there's a swarm that Cindy's in the back here. She's one of our council ladies here and one of the leads of Nitro Sustainable Community. Hey, we got a swarm downtown Nitro. And we go down there, and it was on one of those little trees right there on the corner at the memorial. Yeah, right beside the car wash. And, you know, I was up here doing some stuff. I can't remember if you were up here that day either. Yeah, that's right. But then just a few days later, there's an apartment building down there. I get a call again. There's some down here on the apartment building. So if you open yourself up to that, and people know that you do collect the swarms, and you know, try to rehome them or what have you, that is you're going to get a lot of calls.
When you all the swarms you catch, do you actually use for yourself, or do you requeen and sell nukes from them?
We have never requeened them and sold them as nukes. Now maybe the next year we may take a split off of them and put queens with them and all that. Sometimes it depends. Like, let's say you say, I've got one out here and I've never done this before. We'll help you get it. We'll come and help you get them in there. If you want to take them home with you, you can't. Trust me, we got plenty of bees, right? So, what beekeeping, for those of you that do it, will understand this. It's very addictive, and it's almost like, okay, I know I've got 50, but I need 100 more. You know, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got honeybees under my chicken coop.
Okay.
Well, I had 2 hives last year. One failed. I've still got one. And all the dead bees were in the other hive, so I know they didn't swarm. I mean, they may have split themselves. I don't know, but I mean, I'm pretty sure I've got some under my chicken coop. Between that and carpenter bees, it's swarming up there.
I'm sure. Hey,
I can't get under there. This close, crawling under there with my face to check.
We've been in some very tight spots. So, yes, ma'am. No, yeah, they'll move into water meters. They'll move because we actually they came out and helped. We there was some in a water meter. Where was that? That was on 40th Street, but
40th Street. I forget what the road name is, but it goes across the creek.
Yeah. So they're in the water meter or water drain, whatever it was. There was a whole swarm of bees in there. So they move around everywhere.
They stayed in that nuke for almost a week, and then they exploded.
Okay. There are some things about swarms that a lot of people don't understand. You can see the actual swarm that we caught down at the plant that was on at the flagpole. You know, it was probably about 5 pounds of bees or better, and 5 pounds of bees is a lot of bees. And so just think about a half a cup's about 300 bees. So that's a lot of bees, right? And so, but I actually videoed that and put it together and put it on our YouTube channel. But you can see these suckers flying everywhere, but they normally won't sting you at that point in time. All right. Yes.
So, I mean, I understand from her standpoint of why you're saying to kill the swarm queen and requeen. But why is there not, and I've seen everybody that says this, but why is the belief not that most likely those have lasted over the winter, they're going to have better genetics?
Okay, so that's a very good point. We don't kill and requeen all of them because, to his point, I hope I don't offend anybody when I say this here. One of the things that our state and our Appalachian Mountains has been doing has been really protecting us from varroa mite and really protecting us from Africanization. Okay. And you're right. These feral bees have usually overwintered and they are more in tune and ready for our area. Okay. They've probably lived through, and we've been finding that a lot of the swarms don't have as many mites, right? So maybe they do have those hygienic tendencies about them better, right?
Are we using local queens to requeen?
Yes. So so when we requeen, we have a bunch that we've gotten from the bee monks down in Wayne County, Father Benedict, and we requeen with a lot of those. Now, we don't requeen all of them, okay, because we do want those same genetics that you're talking about there to be throughout the colony. So we may keep one of them off to the side. It's a very good, wax producer, honey producer, bee producer, all that off to the side, that when their drones fly, and we have, right now we got a lot of queen mating going on and all that, that it will hopefully transfer over into them. But back to my hope and not I offend people, we would really like people to either buy their nukes and their bees as local as possible, but definitely don't buy them from like Texas and places like that. And I'll tell you a funny story why. So he said that because he bought a nuke or queen from down Texas. They're called the ankle biters, and they're supposed to be really genetic for the to get rid of the varroa and all that. So I'm used to working bees. They pick on me all the time in shorts, flip flops, sometimes a veil, whatever, right? And so I'm working all of ours all day long. He had to work that week, and I'm working them all day long just like that. I didn't even have a veil on. And so I go over to his house where this ankle biter is at, and I pull the top off, and the colony lit into me like I couldn't get away from them. I mean, I was just walking across the yard, and my legs were black, and it wasn't from the hair. It was from the bees, right? They were just stinging the tire out of me. So the one thing that happens when we are starting to introduce all these bees from outside of our state or outside the Appalachian is we're starting to bring in that Africanization that we don't see a lot of around here. And we just found this out. They don't test for that anymore. Shanda told us that. She taught us that. So they don't test for that anymore, but they're there. Okay. And so to build on your question there, it is good to have those genetics here. Okay. It is very good to have those genetics. So if you are buying packages, queens, there are some good beekeepers, even right over in Ohio. You're staying within that Appalachian area, if you will. One's Nature's Image Farms. We do from time to time have extras that we will sell. There are other beekeepers that have been here that we know, like Jeff Thomas down in Hurricane. He sells bees. There is Jay Cox. He's part of down around Beckley. He does a lot of breeding of queens down there. He sells them. So try to stay as local as possible when you are buying packages of bees. Okay, I know it's not talking about swarms, but that builds off of what you're asking. But that's the whole reason and purpose I got into this, doing it. He was just kind of like, okay, you do your thing and whatever, but was because of the genetics of those bees that have likely overwintered. They're used to our weather. They're used to everything that goes on here. So it is good to have those, and you're still going to have that genetics flying around out there with those drones. Okay, so, but good question.
Is there a list anywhere, Clint, that tells you who sells bees in West Virginia?
I wish there was.